today is an awesome day. I am with Larry Pollack from Aero Instrument, the creator, the designer, the visionary of crazy amplification, instrument cables called the D-Buzz, and awesome electric and bass pickups for guitars and bass.
Yep.
And
all kind of stuff.
All kind of crazy stuff. So here we are at the chocolate factory, or the pickup factory, and we are going to be installing pickups in my white Evertune model solar guitar. So here is the guitar. This is my solar Aero guitar. My artist one is on the way from Englund. The guitar has been still playing great, feels still great, but I have decisions to make. Should I put this one?
That's a Series 13.
That's a Series 13.
A new pickup. We talked about it in our last video. It didn't exist exactly just in drawing form at that time, but now in the flesh.
Look at this. It's so beautiful. The material is so amazing.
We should actually get a humbucker cover to show off how much it is like a humbucker. It's a humbucker pickup size.
And this is?
That's an HB6A with an overlay of spalted maple. And it's just, the overlay is just for show. You don't have to have it with the overlay. It can just be two bobbins touching, kind of like a PAF humbucker, but Jeremiah likes the fancy stuff.
Yes, I do. I love the fancy stuff.
And that is a black plastic overlay. It's the same sort of thing as the white cover, but again, just an overlay, just to dress the pickup up to make it look nicer. And it also adds the logo. You know, you like, if you love Aero pickups, you want to show off the logo.
And you put the logo there too. All right, so we're gonna be videoing how Larry installs the pickups, especially on this new one. So I am gonna go with this one. I know I shouldn't, but it's a new pickup style, and I really want to see it on the guitar. So that's what's gonna happen today, and thank you guys for watching. So yeah, no, trying to still decide how it looks with the white. I'm back and forth on the white and the black one. So should I do the white? Again, this is gonna be a really snug fit. And what these do also, I'm gonna be having some custom guitars made, is that it's gonna eliminate the need for these little extra divots on the side of the guitar. So it's gonna be just a solid, and the mounting ring. It's gonna eliminate all of that. It's gonna be a nice, clean, tight install. So these are the white. Here's my Evertune. Again, I really wanna have this one in only because it's new, but it's the same pickups that I normally use, which I always call them Wicked 1 and 2, but they are the HB6 Series 13. Yes. I'll give you guys a shot of the black one again. So here is the black ones again. They're really nice looking. They're gonna sound amazing. So you know what? I'm gonna keep it the color scheme of the guitar that it came in, and we're gonna go with my HB6, the standard version of it, but still my Wicked 1 and Wicked 2 of it. I always call it that. Larry says, name the pickup whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's still gonna be on the fidelity of what it's gonna sound like. So there you guys have it. This is gonna be an amazing video. You're gonna also get to learn how to solder properly and neat and clean. I really like that about Larry. He takes time. He really takes care and time in the instrument when he works on it. That's why I bring it up to him, because I do ugly soldering.
Well, this is just to show off a little bit how much alike the two pickups are. This is a standard, the gold cover is a standard PAF style humbucker cover, and of course the white one is the Series 13 from Aero. And if you look at them, they are the same thickness, they're the same height, they're the same shape. These pickups are meant to drop into any route that uses a humbucker pickup. You can use it without the mounting ring, you can use it without the end screws. They're more for luthiers or guitar builders who want to get away from this PAF look, which I think pollutes guitars because everybody's using the Gibson look. Why do they have to? Here, Aero makes a Series 13, and my God, you can have a different look for a change. You know, I mean, why do we all have to be lemmings? Anyway, this is showing off how much the same they are. That's all.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Okay.
I really like that white look and the black look.
Well, they can be anything, Jeremiah.
Yeah,
they can be.
They can be ebony. They can be koa.
Yeah.
They can be spalted maple. They can be ohia. You name it, Larry can do it, or he'll figure out a way to do it. So nothing's impossible up here. This is where dreams come true. All right. So again, this is the inside of a solar guitar cavity. Right there, the switch, the tone, the volume pot. And here is the back of the Evertune. This is the first time I see this comb style on the Evertune, so it must be an upgrade on the company. Before it was a little comb, but now it's a big comb. And look at this neck joint. This is amazing. Oh yes. And then I add a little strap lock button. You know, that's what I can do. I can use a screwdriver and put these in, but Larry can do all of these stuff. And look, sorry Ola, I dropped it.
That's yours now.
Yeah, it's mine now.
Okay, so we're looking at this guitar to retrofit it. We're starting to take it apart right now. We're going to pull off all the pieces like the knobs and that kind of stuff, and we're going to pull out the electronics. One of the things I noticed, though, while we were working on the guitar, and Jeremiah's going to have to take a picture into the cavity here, most people who put graphite paint into these guitars, and I don't necessarily approve of any of this stuff, but when they do that, they always overdo it, and they go down the jack cavity. And what happens is you get ground loops when you're wiring. And what I have to do is take some tool and get out the graphite paint. So when they put in the jack, it doesn't touch the shielding as well, because what that does is it creates another path to ground. That's a ground loop. So this is it's done differently for sure, and he's doing the right thing here.
Right on. And again, we got spalted maple tops, and
yeah, these are HB6A pickups again. They have a overlay, which is a spalted maple, and the reason is because Jeremiah really liked the look.
The wood look.
Yeah, and it can be anything, though. I mean, if we want, we could do it another kind of wood. In fact, I think I have a Coco Bolo one in back here we could show off too.
Wow.
But the overlays just pop off. They're just basically mildly glued on, and they're actually sort of hand fit as well. They press on really hard onto the magnets, so that's a really nice fit. I mean, it's possible to get them off, but normally you don't want to do that. Yeah. And they're just, you can change them to whatever you want. So if you're wearing pink one day and you need something pink, we'll make you a pink one.
We'll make you a pink one.
Yeah.
Right, you have options with Aero pickups and how your guitar and the style of your guitar looks at any given time. If you order extra tops, you get the same size stuff. Like when Larry makes mines, he gives me a version of ebony, spalted maple, koa, just so I'm changing my strings and I want to change the look of my pickups. It's very easy to do, very convenient and very cool.
So we're going to add to the family here. This is a Coco Bolo top. We were talking about it a second ago. And again, it's just another piece of wood that we can make it out of. It doesn't have to be any particular wood. It can be a plastic like the ones we showed off. It could be almost any color that can be fabricated. I mean, there are limitations. But we try to accommodate the customer. Another thing that's worth pointing out about these pickups as well is that we haven't talked about this, but there is I don't have a humbucker here. Well, I guess I do right here. If you look down there, there's all the wiring and the tape is all loose and stuff like this.
From here.
You can see all that stuff, and you see the wire through here. This is all places where little chips of metal, or if you spill a Coke or whatever it is, get in. The HB6 and the HB6A, the wires are there, but they're buried actually in a cavity that's below here. So all the wiring is neatly tucked away. We close this gap that's in a normal humbucker pickup right here. And it's for the future. Like you want to keep this pickup 100 years, well, that's what it's designed to do. It's not designed to be this one breaks and you buy another. This is something you're supposed to love and want to have, you know, for a long time. People don't think about those kind of things anymore, but this is the way we design stuff. So
it's like a tattoo of tone, you know.
Yeah, that's
Once
good.
you find out what your tone is, you make a tattoo of it, and your guitar can keep that tone for the duration of its life. Unless, you know, you get all crazy and you want to slam your guitar on the ground and break it. But, you know, to each their own.
yeah, you can cut off your skin too and get rid of the tattoo.
There you go. You can always remove that way. But here it is, right before it gets modded into the Aero mods.
Here we are again. We were trying to figure out which pickup to use, and we decided not to use the white ones in this guitar. But we wanted to see what they looked like in the guitar because, you know, white on white, it kind of looks cool. And as we were putting them in, just trying to show how good a fit this is a humbucker route. And actually, these pickups these are the first of their kind. They've only been built, only 2 pickups of this Series 13 have been built. And I've never actually tried them in a guitar. This is just all from dimensional fit, and you can see that they fit perfectly into a route.
Wow, look at that.
And you can imagine, like a guitar now, like this, how clean it's going to look with 4 mounting holes and everything. It's going to look really nice.
Yeah,
This is just, you know, prototyper's heaven, I guess.
Right, exactly. If you can dream it, it can be built.
That's right.
But all right, everybody. So we have we took out the solar Duncan pickups right here. These are the Duncans, and here's the back. They gotta do this. There's an Evertune in here, so there's a different angle in the Evertune that kind of comes in a downward slope. So they gotta put the foam in the back to kind of accommodate for that slope to try and keep the pickup straight. So that was cool. And so what we did was there is a foam under here as well. And as you can see with most humbuckers, if you rock it side to side, it moves the pickup. This is nice and solid. And we're gonna get to, you know, keep it in place. So it's a really nice design Larry created. And again, it is a nice, look how tight that looks. Really nice and tight with the dimensions of the guitar. So we are now about ready to get on with the soldering video. Again, Larry does really nice work, and I don't really deal with the soldering stuff. You know, I'm gonna just play the guitar. So here we go. We're gonna start soldering soon. Very excited. This again is the HB6 model, not the Series 13, that has a black plastic cap on it. I usually do ebony, but I'm going with the plastic one on this guitar. It looks nice and sleek and shiny. There's an inlay of the Aero logo recessed inside the cover. So it's really nice, really smooth. And this has the exact string spacing. If you was to string up the guitar, these magnets would fall dead center over all of these magnets, and you will see that after we get it restrung up.
Okay, so we're back, and we've done a little bit of work on Jeremiah's guitar right here, and we have all the pieces that so this is the camera here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have all the pieces that we took out, and all the pieces that we put in. As you can see, we've put in the new Aero pickups. That's a start. And we've taken out the old Duncan pickups wherever they went. They're out, so that's okay. They're out, and here they are, and in plastic bags, and we opened up the guitar, and we took out the potentiometers that were in there, and there was a wiring harness attached to it and a jack here, and we're not using this jack because we don't like the spring tension. It doesn't seem to be high enough compared to a different brand, and just this wiring is just a kind of a thin coax. We're going to get rid of that. And this was the wiring harness that went to the switch and everything. We just cut it all out. It's just a nicely soldered bunch of wire. Anyway, and we're going to put back all the components that we took out a little bit at a time. We're going to solder to them, and these are the pickup leads coming from the other side. This is the bridge ground coming from a screw on the Evertune here. This is the bridge pickup, neck and bridge, and this is where the volume pot's going to go, and this is where the tone pot's going to go, and this is where the switch is going to go. So we've pre-wired them a little bit. This old switching in this guitar switched between all the different bobbins of the pickups. We're not going to do that with the Aeros because we don't recommend that. We're just going to, so we cut out one whole deck. So I just cut the wire off this deck, and then I just wired it so there's a 5-way switch, but we're only wiring it for 3 positions, so there'll be a 2 and a 4 position that have nothing on them. And I wired them just for neck pickup, both pickups in the middle, and then bridge pickup here. And we've just used this deck here to do that. We've basically, this lead is the common between the 2 decks. There's 2 decks, one here and here. And this represents the neck side, this represents the bridge side, and we're just going to, when we solder the pickups, we're going to solder the neck pickup here and the bridge pickup here. And if you look at the soldering, I've soldered these closed, but I've left these eyelets open so that we can add the leads later.
Nice.
So we're going to put this switch in. That's the first thing we're going to do, and I'm sure you've seen this done before, except that we have to find the screws. So we're just going to slip the screws in here and tighten this in place. It's something that everyone can do, but it's just a little tricky in that every guitar is a little different in the way things go in. And you can't see me screwing the screw in, but it is happening. And then we need the other.
So this is the reason why I bring all my guitars up to Larry to do all of my installation of the pickups, because I, again, am not a award-winning solderer. I can't do it right. And Larry takes pride in his work, which I really love, that he is willing to spend the time on it. You know, he does it like it's his own instrument. So that's really cool.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
No, thank you.
And so these are the potentiometers that we took out, and we altered them in various ways. So here's the new jack, actually, and you can see this is not coax anymore, it's twisted pair, which is equivalent to a coax, but I think easier to implement. The wire is also all now Teflon wire, because I hate when wire melts when I'm soldering it, and you can touch it so easily and you can cause shorts in your guitar. So this is the tone pot. We've basically wired it up equivalently to what it was, but instead of grounding the capacitor on the back of the tone pot, as you can see the old solder spot is here, we've brought it to the back of this pot to create a central ground point, which is a better method, because this soldering it here creates a ground loop, because its path back to ground is through the shielding paint, which is actually very resistive. Yeah. And so you can actually cause issues with ground loops that you can't figure out why the signal is getting from here to there without explaining exactly what they are or why they occur. It's better that you just have one central ground point where everything grounds through. So that's what I've done here. The jack ground point is the black wire, which also grounds here. And we'll add to this corner over here of the back of this pot the pickup grounds, which are going to be these outside of the shield wires here. And we're going to take these leads and we're going to solder them to the switch. And this is the neck pickup, so it's going to go here, and the bridge one is going to go back here. So the next thing I'm going to do is install these 3 components into the guitar. So the first thing we'll do is we'll install the jack. Okay, we're back here. All we've done is install the pots and the switch, and I'll show you the work and the jack, and we just screwed the switch in, put the knobs back on. We just didn't want to waste your time with that. We put the jack back in over here, and flipping the guitar over, you can see that everything is sort of laid in place. We haven't finished soldering everything because we wanted to demonstrate some of that, so we've left some of it open. And just you can see now that this is the lead from the jack, and the reason there's some extra lead there is because we want to be able to lift the pots up beyond the cavity if we ever have to get to them to solder, because you can see that there are recesses in this guitar so that the shafts of the pots can fit through the wooden body. And it makes it really difficult to get in there sometimes with a soldering iron. As you'll see when we solder one of these things, it'll be a little bit difficult to get to, and you'll see why when we start to solder it right now. And I'm just putting those leads out of the way so I can get there. I'm going to demonstrate one soldering joint. One of the nice things about this is that you can see how it looks like these things are sort of up, and they should be. The reason is because you want them sort of away from each other. If you can get grounds and hot wires perpendicular, but if you can get them farther away from each other, that's better, or you can twist the leads to get it like that. This is the lead from the switch, which is determining the neck or blend in the middle or bridge pickup by moving it to one of three positions. And this is the hot wire out of the switch that's going to go to the potentiometer that's right here. And we've pre-tinned the wire, and we've put a curve. You can probably see the hook in it. And we've done that so that we can slip it up in here and then crimp it in place like that. And then what we want to do is we want to get in there with some solder and a soldering iron. So there we go. And then we touch the place that we're going to solder, and then we add solder into the void there, sort of between the soldering iron and the place that we're trying to solder. And you can see how nice and shiny that came out, and it filled the entire eyelet, which is what you want. And you have also this mechanical contact that we made with the lead. All those three things are very important to get a good solder joint. So even if the solder fails, what in the trade is called cold solder, even if that happens, because you mechanically squeeze that crimp into place, you should not ever get a cold solder. So the idea is it's sort of double protection. Okay, we also, by the way, when we were assembling the guitar before we soldered, this is the bridge ground from the Evertune. It's in a difficult spot, and it's not a piece of Teflon wire and would probably melt if we fumbled in there, so we soldered it before we started just so that we'd have it done. So this is again the bridge pickup, and it goes in this position back here. And again, you see the lead is pre-tinned here. This is the ground from the shield. And so what we're going to do is and these leads, we're just going to leave them long. There's no reason to cut them. If you ever want to take these pickups out and put them in another guitar, you won't have to fool with the leads. You might as well just leave them long. It doesn't affect the way the guitar works in any way. We'll dress them later with a wire tie to make sure that they're clean looking. And I'm just going to cut this just a tad shorter. And then I'm going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to put a hook with a pair of pliers into the lead, and we're going to hook it through the eyelet that we left open. And we're going to crimp it again so that it's tight. And so then what I'm going to do, since I'm soldering in a guitar, I'm just going to weight it down here with the solder so that the lead stays flat when I solder it, so I can use two hands to solder that joint again, touching the soldering iron to the point we want to solder and adding solder in the vacancy until the eyelet fills with solder and has a nice smooth finish to it, and everything is real good. By the way, we added this is a Teflon coating for just a piece of solid wire to jump between 2 points so that we could have that switching. This would be the bridge position on this would be the bridge position on the switch, but this would be the middle position. Oh, wait a minute, I did that wrong. This is the bridge position, and this is the middle position on the switch. And in the neck, this is the middle position. This is the bridge neck, rather. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing now with the neck pickup. This is a little too long, so we're going to cut it off. This is the way they come from Aero, and with extra lead just in case.
Sorry, I had to get my horns in there, Larry.
Woo! We need you to know that Jeremiah is watching here in the background, just because it's it's his guitar, and he wants to make sure that I don't screw it up.
No, it's in good hands. I never have to worry about that.
There we go. Anyway, so same thing's going on. We're going to slip it through the eyelet just like we did before, crimp it down, and we're going to use the weight of the solder can to hold it in place, just so that we have two hands, because it's possible to solder without two hands, but there's a little tip of solder on there, and but it's much nicer if you have two hands. And so again, I'm feeding solder into the joint, flowing to the entire eyelet, nice and shiny, perfect, everything went good. Okay, so now actually the whole guitar is soldered except for the grounds from the pickups, and we're going to solder them together on the other side of the pot. And again, this is the way they come from Aero. We haven't done anything to dress it or anything. What's going on there? Okay. We want to get them inside of each other if we can, and we just want to lay them down right here. And we're going to try to, haven't really worked out how I'm going to do this yet, but the best way to do it is to have something that holds them together, which this tool does. And then to flatten them out on the back of the pot where we're trying to solder.
Would you like me to hold that tool?
I think I'm okay.
Cool.
And I'm just going to try to put a little bit more of a bend in them so that they lay flatter, because I need to get them to be on the edge here. And this is actually the trickiest part, so that I'm monkeying with it a little bit is not uncommon. You want to get it to be as perfect as possible, and I actually have a philosophy about this, that I believe that you shouldn't solder to the center of the pot, which many people do. You can't see the other solder right now, but it's on the other edge, and the reason is because the middle, the carbon element for the pot is in the middle. When you put a soldering iron down on it, it's just going to burn. And so what we're trying to do is prevent that from burning, so we're using the edge. And I'm going to grab we're going to grab a different soldering iron. Let's see if it reaches over here.
Oh, yeah.
This iron is a little hotter than the other one because there is some thermal mass here. We also have a tool here that we're going to use to get in here. This might not be the best one, but I think this will work. And what we're going to do is after we're going to push the soldering iron down just like we've done before. We're going to add solder just like we've done before. And then we're going to take the pliers before we lift the soldering iron and just hold the tip of what we're soldering down until the solder hardens. Because when I lift the soldering iron, it's going to want to jump up. So here we go. We're going to touch it down, and then we're going to add solder as we've done before. In this case, we're going to add quite a lot of solder because we need it to melt into all the little things. And then we're going to hold it down with the pliers, or it could be any other tool that has sort of a blunt point, until it hardens. And then we're going to let go, and then we can let everything go. And you can see it's soldered down, and some of it flowed to the middle, but as best that you can, you try to stay away. This is not a very big potentiometer. It's a 9mm instead of a 25mm. And on a 25mm, you have a lot more room around the edge. This one is smaller, so you don't have as much room.
So what would you recommend when, say, people want to install their own arrows? What would you recommend for a volume pot, a tone pot, the switch? You know, like what is something that would be that you would recommend, or that you would install yourself if we had them here today?
Sure. We used the components that were on this guitar, and the reason we did is because the way this guitar is designed with this recess, a 25mm pot would really not sit well in here, and so we couldn't change the pots. In this case, the guitar had a 500K audio taper potentiometer for the volume, and it has also a 500K audio taper potentiometer for the tone, which we don't advise, and for the tone only. Going back to the volume just for a minute, the two potentiometers that I think are most common for passive setups are 500K and 250K. In the case of an Aero pickup, it has enough output that you could choose either. And the difference would be that if you use a 250K, there's more signal that's going to ground, so there's more signal loss. And if you then use a 500K instead, and that's enough signal to drive your amp with a 250K, they're designed for 250K audio taper. If you went to a 500K, you gain about 12 to 15% output. So actually it'll be a little louder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about what your ear can hear. 10 to 15%, 12 to 15% is about what your ear can hear as a volume step. So you'll hear it being a little louder. For the tone control, it was kind of the wrong choice. Many people use audio taper for tone. The problem with it is that the adjustment happens because it's audio taper. In an audio in a linear taper pot, anywhere you set it, it's a linear adjustment. So say you had a 500K pot, you set it halfway, that would be 250K. On a log 10 audio taper pot, it would be 10% of the value. So it would be approximately 450K at halfway, which means basically that the tone adjustment will happen in the last 10% of the run. So we suggest, instead of an audio taper, a linear taper for tone. The other thing is this is a very large capacitor. There's no need for it. You're rolling off frequencies at a point where the Aero pickup sounds good, and actually we don't recommend it. We would suggest a smaller tone pot, and at some point we might try to change this. I can order Jeremiah a smaller pot, and we can use a different cap. I would have used in a guitar a 250K and a 0.01 microfarad. That would have been my choice. But that's just because of the pickups. Because you can't get this kind of fidelity out of any other pickup, and you're trying to roll off the harshness at the high end of most pickups, this is what the go-to setup is. It's just over time it's been used. It doesn't really have any basis in Aero when you're using an Aero. Okay, so the next thing we're just going to do is we're going to address these leads a little bit because they are kind of long. And I just grabbed a couple of wire ties here. I think we're only going to need one. But I'm just going to take them. You don't want to crimp the wire, so I'm leaving the bow sort of in here. But I'm just going to grab them, and I'm going to put one wire tie around here. We'll sort of snug it up, and then we'll see where it should go after we snug it up. I think probably right there is good. And then there we go. And that's enough. And it'll lay in here. It's nicely dressed. You know, it's actually nicer than the other setup in that it's sort of a cleaner look, but not that much better. I mean, there's no. The other setup was just sort of a knot in the middle. This is, I think, a lot cleaner to look at.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of your preference. I really like clean, simple things, and so this is my preference. Right now we're done, and we'll stop the video. We'll put on the screws, and we'll play.
All right, so we got the caps back on, and it is time to string this puppy up. Look how beautiful these look. Oh my goodness. Woohoo! All right, so what we're going to be stringing up this solar guitar with today, my friends, is my custom Skull String Augustine set. Yeah. These gauges are 10 to 56. This is not like my custom core K1 and K2 where I'm using 11 to 58. With Ola's guitars, 10 to 56 has been really perfect tension along the 6th string in drop C. So I also got away with 10 to 52 on Ola's guitars, the Solars, for a drop C tuning, but I have a heavy attack on my right hand. I rather not have any wiggle room when I'm hitting the strings. I like it to be really tight when I hit it, and actually helps me with my tone and my speed on my right hand. So yeah, here it is. I'm gonna be installing these guys. Thank you, Skull Strings. Thank you, Aero Instrument, Larry, for putting these beautiful, gorgeous pickups in my solar. Thank you, Ola Englund, for my awesome white solar. I love all my solars. But here we go. All right, here you go, guys. Skull Strings. You rip open the bag. If you're not from France, you rip open the bag real quick and go, ah, France, in the bag. You like that, huh, Larry? So, you know, here you go, pull it out. Look at that, man. They're such an awesome company. Wow. And here's the gauges, 10, 14, 18, 32, 44, and a 56. So these are going to go on this solar right here. And I'm going to have this like right here in the background. Make it all look pretty right there. Just make it all pretty. Look at that. Oh, you see Augustine, right? Augustine, Hawaii's metal band.
All right, we're going to talk about a few things. I think we'll talk about the pickups themselves first. What's in Jeremiah's?
Please. Okay. Please do.
So, you know, I can make a lot of different varieties of pickups. These are obviously hum canceling pickups. They're just like a PAF. They're a series humbucker. It's a pretty standard device. It's just we've done a couple things to them that really changes the way that they play. The first thing we did is we aligned all the pole pieces with the strings. Jeremiah brought his guitar in here, and we took a ruler. We've discussed this in another video, and we measured from the center of the low to the center of the high string. Got that number and divided by the number of spaces, and then built two different string spacings, one for the neck, which is narrower, and one for the bridge. So that's the first thing we did. The second thing we did is we built him what we call an HB6A, and it's basically just an Aero pickup. Again, Jeremiah and I have discussed all these things in the video, in other videos. But an HB6A is built on a different kind of chassis. It's not microphonic. And it has the advantage of being more stable in a pickup cavity and a better hum canceling pickup. And the reason it's more stable is most humbucker pickups, when you touch them, they flex back and forth, and also they always sit crooked. When you have them in your guitar, they're either one way or the other, depending upon the guitar. And
let me get this camera mobile so we can actually watch you do some gestures and some movement.
Sure. What I'm trying to do is rock the pickup like a normal humbucker, and you can take your Les Paul or whatever guitar you have a humbucker in it, and you can do this, and it'll just bounce around. And the arrows are really stable. They don't move very much, and they're also not microphonic. Most humbucker pickups are really microphonic. You can, if you took your guitar and you plugged it in, and you turned the volume up, and you put the guitar next to your face, and you spoke into the pickup, it would be sort of like a microphone. It's that profound. Arrows are not like that in any way. So they're much more stable to put in your guitar, and because they lay flat, it means that the two bobbins have a chance to hum cancel. Normally, when you have a guitar pickup, if it's crooked, one side is down, or it's like this or like that, then the two bobbin halves can't sense identically and therefore don't properly hum cancel. And so another reason to buy an Aero is because you'll get a better hum canceling pickup. Another reason is because because the humbuckers PAFs are limited to the components that other people can buy. Aero makes every part of this pickup. So when we build them, we can build it to whatever spec the customer is looking for. In Jeremiah's case, we built an Alnico 2 bridge pickup, just a standard, what we call level 3 output. It's kind of like what metal guys like. It's really loud, but it's not so offensively loud. It's not like some of my competition that builds these screaming pickups that cause your preamp to clip. It's just below the output of what a normal preamp will take before it clips. So you can play it hard and still never clip. The neck pickup we built is a low impedance Alnico 5 style pickup. We called it a type 2. And it's a level, I think this one is a level 1. When Jeremiah first came to me, we built him what we call level 1/2. It's more like what blues players would use, and he liked it. It sounds great. They all sound the same, but it just didn't have the sort of balance between the neck and the bridge, so we changed it to a level 1, which has, really satisfied him, and it just gives a deep, really rich tone. You could hear it in the video. It'll come next. That is just uncommon. I mean, no other guitar pickups do that. And the other advantage that Jeremiah has that other guitarists don't really have is he plays a drop note. How deep? What is this?
This is a drop C.
Yeah. So this is a lower than E note, which gives the guitar some bass response that it normally wouldn't have, which really shows off the Aero pickup. You wouldn't see it as well with an E-tune string, but you can still hear it. I mean, it's just not as low, so you don't hear the bass response. So that's the pickups. I also wanted to talk about the string spacing in terms of what it does and why it improved your sound.
Okay.
The pickups you had in here before were either, I didn't measure them, but they were either 9.96 millimeter, 9.9 millimeter, or they were 10 millimeter. And that means that, that's what comes from, there's only 2 varieties you buy when you buy the bobbin. And it's one of the 2. The vintage one is 9.9, the more modern ones are 10. In your case, this is 9.6 and 10 millimeters. So if they were 10 millimeter, your bridge pickup would have lined up perfectly. Everything would have been fine.
Yeah.
But let's assume that it was a 9.9. That means that it would have been inside, the pole pieces would have been inside of the strings. Definitely, since the string spacing is narrower here, it would have been inside. So for guitar players who bend notes, if the pole piece would have been outside, and the strings would have been inside. So for guitar players who bend notes, this is 9.6, the other one is 9.9, and was wider. When you bent the note away from the pole piece, you were actually bending it farther away from the pole piece than the pole piece was. The pole piece was over here somewhere, and it wasn't really under the string, and now you're bending it away. It affects mostly the low and the high strings because string spacing is cumulative. The error is half the distance here of the error, but it's the full error here and then twice the error here. So it's 1.5 times by the time it gets to the outer string different than it should be. And so it's really bad on the outer strings. Okay, now let's do the last thing that we were going to talk about. We, before Jeremiah played, we set up the guitar. And we basically, you have to understand that these are, the pickups are set up based upon a formula of the kind of magnet. So based upon the magnet, we tell you what the setup is. And just for example, on the neck pickup here, can you see that, Jeremiah? Okay. What we do is we depress the string at the 12th fret. The reason for that is, no one thinks about this, but you don't play at the same point. If you do it at the 7th fret, the deflection isn't as great at the 12th, but if you do it at the last fret, it's really great. So the 12th fret is an average because it's about halfway down the neck. So we were averaging the difference between the top of the magnet and the bottom of the string. And when I set up a guitar, I always measure on each magnet face to make sure it's balanced. You can see it's 5/32 if you look at the ruler to the bottom of the string. And it's the same over here, 5/32 to the bottom of the string. And it would be the same, obviously, in the center, but that's where you usually do the setup. But just to make sure it's flat, yeah, you do it on both. And you do that on the low string, and then you depress the string on the high string, and again, do it on both of these, and it's 5/32 here and 5/32 here again. And you can actually move it up maybe a 32nd or down for taste, but there's a window where the magnetic field is most linear that you want to stay within, and we specify what that should be when you, on a setup sheet that you get with Aero pickups when you get them. So that's string spacing in a nutshell. When you buy the pickups, there's a full page explanation of what I just talked about
Cool.
to try to get you to do it right. So.
Yeah, for me, I get the page in my pickups, but I actually have Larry do it, so it's already perfect. So I don't have to really mess with the reading part. Right on. Shall we make some noise?
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, so the labor of love has been done, and in the process, we blew a capacitor in Larry's Mercury amp, which is a prototype, and I will definitely show you a picture of that later.
It actually didn't blow out. It just it died of old age.
Died of old age. Together.